this is the last digestive video. Yay! Gotta do 2, 3 things basically. We gotta finish up pancreatic secretion. So we're talking about the pancreas. We know it makes pancreatic juice, which is basic and rich in enzymes. Enzymes from the acinar cells, the juice part of the juice, the alkaline juice from the duct cells. And when chyme hits the duodenum, of course that chyme is going to be acidic because it's coming from the stomach. The acidity of the chyme, the low pH there, is going to prompt the endocrine cells in the duodenum to make the hormone secretin. Worst name for a hormone ever. Secretin is going to cause the pancreatic duct cells to secrete their basic juice. Meanwhile, it's going to make that hepatopancreatic sphincter relax. Meanwhile, it's also going to make the gastric juice secretion, stomach activity, go down. All right, now we've covered the exocrine part of the pancreas. Now we go to the endocrine, the hormone part. There is a pancreatic islet right there, also known as an islet of Langerhans. Islet of Langerhans has alpha cells. Alpha cells make glucagon. Glucagon is released when blood glucose levels are low, so it brings blood glucose levels up. Beta cells make insulin. Insulin is released when blood glucose is high. Insulin makes blood glucose go down. Insulin makes liver cells and muscle cells uptake the glucose in the blood in order to get it back to homeostatic levels. All right, if you ate all this and drank all that, which pancreatic hormone would be released, why, and what would it do? Okay, almost done. Last organ, the large intestine. From the ileocecal junction all the way around to the anus. It's going to convert the chyme coming from the intestine into feces. During this conversion, it's going to absorb water. And eventually, the feces ultimately need to be expelled. Here is a cross-section of the large intestine. We see the mucosa, we see the submucosa, we see the muscularis externa. Note the three bulges of smooth muscle that are the teeny E. coli that you saw in lab as well. There's going to be a lot of goblet cells in here. And this correlates with a function, one of the big functions of the large intestine, which is the absorption of water. The more water you absorb from poop, the harder it is to propel it, which is going to necessitate more mucus. Hence, the abundance of goblet cells in here. And there are intestinal glands too. We see some intestinal glands as well, making even more mucus. All right, so who's living in the colon? Well, trillions of bacteria. They're going to help break down indigestible carbohydrates, help make us vitamins, vitamin B12, vitamin K. How do these bacteria get there? Well, babies can get them from mom. If baby's breastfeeding, right from mom as nursing is taking place. Some animals will eat mom's poop. That's a good way to do it. And for us humans, obviously, we don't do that. And we're going to eat bacteria. It's going to happen. It's good because of these beneficial functions. All right, couple types of movement in the large intestine. There's haustral contractions. Remember, each of these bulges is a haustrum. When a haustrum stretches, it kind of squeezes to push poop onto the next haustrum. Several times a day, there are big waves of peristalsis that go all the way through the colon. Those are called mass movements. It doesn't mean you're necessarily pooping several times a day. It just means you've got these processes that are going to kind of shove things along. There's also the gastrocolic reflex, which is not super strong in adults, but pretty strong in babies and dogs too. When you eat food, your stomach releases gastrin, the hormone. We talked about its effect on the stomach, but gastrin also is a powerful stimulant of peristalsis in the colon, and that's going to cause pooping. Coffee augments this gastrocolic reflex. And then we got defecation, which is the normal reflex of action that occurs when the rectum is really stretched with poop. But luckily we can modify it. Let's talk about it for just a second. So here's the rectum down here. You see the poop is stretching it quite a bit. When the stretch reaches a threshold level, there are stretch receptors in here, baroreceptors. You know that word. They're going to send a signal up to the spinal cord, dun 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 dun, into the spinal cord. Reflex, monosynaptic reflex here. Reflex goes right out. The response to that reflex, to that stretch, is a motor output command. It's going to tell the rectum, hey, start squeezing, and tell the sphincters, hey, start relaxing. Now, luckily, the signal that comes back to the spinal cord doesn't just do this reflex. It's also going to tell your brain, let your brain know, let your cerebral cortex know, so you can say, wait a minute, not right now. And then you can send signals telling that external sphincter, squeeze, squeeze. So you can modify it, and you can also help it occur. Contract the abdominal muscles, shut your glottis and try and breathe out to increase thoracic and thus abdominal pressure, all that good stuff. All right, last thing about poop. About 100 grams a day, mostly water, some solids. The solids include dead bacteria, shed epithelial cells, fats, proteins, plant fibers, bile pigments, bilirubin, in other words. And it's what's the word I'm looking for? Metabolites. There we go. And good news, that was short. Awesome. Short is good. Digestive system is over. Only 2 more to do. Bye-bye.